Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Awakener bonus and Awakener levels, how to get them, how you can use them, and kind of how to really take advantage of them. Also, a few discoveries that I've found out throughout my experiments. So if you're interested in learning more about this here, you've come to the right place. So initially, what is an Awakener level and how do you get it? So an Awakener level is something that you receive after socketing 4 watchstones in the Atlas. So that's basically one of each color, and you whack it in there and you will receive 1 level of Awakening bonus. Now this will give you a myriad of different bonuses to your Atlas that we can see here. Obviously you can check these out for yourself in game, but we're going to be going over the implications of each of them in this video. So that's how you get them. And in terms of obtaining watchstones and all that kind of stuff, you can check out my previous video. It'll take you through how to get all of them, pretty much all the way up to 32, and you'll be able to get a level 8 awakening bonus, which is the maximum. So definitely pretty cool. So obviously 32 watchstones is a ton of watchstones to grind. What are the benefits to this, and is it worth it? That's the question. Let's get into that now. So the first part of awakening bonuses is that it's going to make the content a lot harder. Now this difficulty scales up the more awakening levels you get, and it probably starts off at level 1, not too noticeable, but as you get up higher and higher, it will get harder and harder, and you will notice it more and more. So definitely a thing to notice, especially if you're already struggling with the content. Ratcheting up that awakening level might make it a lot harder. So, initially, unique map bosses have X% more life. This goes up by about 3%, I believe. Yeah, 3% per awakening level. So at 8, you have 24% more monster life. So is this actually a big deal, and is it noticeable? For the bulk of players, this is actually going to be a very big deal indeed, because a more multiplier stacks on top of all the other multipliers in the map. So let's say you have a map boss that has 1,000,000 HP, and then it's got a 50% increased life modifier in the mod, so it's 1.5, and it's got 50% more life, so it's like half of 1.5, so it's well over 2 million now, and then if you do another 15%, then it's almost up to 3 million, so it's definitely going to be multiplying that out quite a lot, and it's definitely very noticeable, and those bosses will become a lot tankier, especially at awakening level 8. And it may actually be a factor that will mean you need to get more gear, grind a little bit slower, all that kind of stuff like that. So definitely something to consider if you have low damage in your build already. So pretty interesting, but that's definitely a simple one. The next thing here is another kind of double-edged sword one. It has both positive and negative benefits to it. So it says 24% increased effective modifiers on non-unique maps at awakening level 8. So this has the most implications out of all of the awakening mods by far, and is the most interesting stat on here. And I'm going to go into a little bit of my discovery and why. So to begin with, at the surface level, this basically multiplies anything on a map by 0.24, added on top. So you get 24% more of basically whatever's on a map. So if we go over to a map here, let's just grab a waterways and we'll roll this up. So instead of 99% extra fire damage, it'll probably be like 120, all that kind of stuff. We have the monster life here, and that'll obviously be multiplied again by the Awakener bonus. So definitely a lot of stuff here. All of these mods that have numerical values will be multiplied, including stuff like Beyond. The more magic monsters here will be multiplied, more rare monsters, all that kind of stuff will be multiplied by about 25%. So that is a massive deal. You're basically getting 25% more bang for your buck on your mods, for better or for worse. So not only are the bosses going to have 24% more life, the map will have 25% more intense mods. And this is particularly important for some very specific mods, such as 90% chance to avoid elements. That's a massive one. If you're playing something like an Ignite build or a Chill build, it'll go up to 100% chance for monsters to avoid elements, meaning stuff like Curse on Hits stop working with Herald of Ice, and all this kinds of stuff, meaning you'll have to roll over those modifiers or pay the price. So definitely a very big thing to note. Obviously, with risk comes reward. You will get more rare magic and beyond monsters and the works. So definitely a very interesting thing to consider. But it doesn't stop there. Not only does it amplify the modifiers, it also amplifies the quantity, rarity, and pack size that they grant. So when you zone into a map, so we have 52% here, that will be modified by the 24% as well. So you essentially start getting a lot more quantity, a lot more pack size, everything gets cranked up significantly. So everything is going to be much more intense, much tankier, much more damage, much more monsters, much more loot, everything. So it's pretty intense indeed. But it doesn't stop there, because it also affects things that you use to modify maps as well. So I tested this on a white map. I chiseled up my map and I went in there white, and it actually multiplies the chisel bonus as well. So it's pretty insane. Now I wanted to take this a step further and test out sextants. I was curious to see if sextants would be multiplied by this as well, and in fact they weren't. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the only thing Awakener bonus applies to with this mod specifically is maps and the modifiers on the map item. So stuff like Prophecies probably doesn't work, Tempest, all that kind of stuff probably doesn't work, and that makes a lot of sense. So definitely a very powerful double-edged sword mod, which is probably the biggest draw card for the Awakener bonus, because it affects maps at every tier. It's just going to be a flat multiplier to everything that you get and fight, which is great. Next up, we have the more unique bonuses here coming up. We have 8% chance for an additional connected map to drop from the unique boss. So this is basically just a straight up 8% chance buff to the boss to drop a red map. 100% guaranteed it will be red because it has to be connected. So if I run Caldera, it will drop either like Pit, Lair, Thicket, all of these maps here. So it's pretty much a guaranteed 8% chance at a sustain, which is actually completely insane. Given the fact that like we had like a very edgy kind of like 90% sustain rate, all that kind of stuff like that, a flat 8% buff means you can sustain stuff like T16s far easier, and you won't be running out of maps as a result of this. Now, one thing that might pop up in your head here is that it says it's an 8% chance off of unique map boss. You might be thinking, oh man, I'm gonna run a triple map boss and see how that goes. I tested this, and I tested a lot of it, and I found out that it only ever drops off the last map boss that was defeated. Never once did it drop off the first one, second one, or any of the others. So the conclusion I've come to is that it can only trigger once per map, and it's going to trigger on the last boss that you kill, which is pretty interesting. So definitely a lot of extra benefit here already. It would already be worth going for the Awakener bonus, but it gets even better. So next up, we have a 4% chance at both a Shaper and Elder Guardian map to drop from a unique map bonus, but only a T14 plus, so pushing us there a bit further towards the top end on the difficulty scale, but giving us a suitable reward for doing so. So this basically is going to give you a massive drop every few maps. So you have a 4% of each respectively. So that's another 8% chance to drop a red map. Guaranteed it will be red. So that is completely insane. All up, you have an extra 16% chance to drop a map off of the boss, with 4% chance of it being a Shaper Guardian, which is worth considerable currency as of patch 3.9 and onward. So a very alluring bonus there once you get to level 8, and of course this linearly scales up as well. So really, really insane indeed. The next ones are a little bit less exciting. We have 4% chance for an additional Atlas base type to drop. Now I'm pretty sure this means stuff like steel rings, opal rings, all of that kind of stuff off the map boss. So definitely a little bit less exciting than the others. Next, we also have an 8% chance to drop an additional unique item. This can trigger anywhere, which is pretty interesting if you want to go with a low tier speed farming strategy, so it could be taken advantage of there. But this is actually going to drop identified as well, so you will know when it drops and what it is. And I've noticed this happen quite a bit. It's almost a 10% chance to drop. Most of the time you'll get trash, but there is the off chance that you could get something good. I'm unsure whether this can drop a league specific. I haven't dropped any league specific items from it yet, but that doesn't say that it can't happen. So you could potentially get a headhunter from this. Next, we have 8% chance for an additional map currency to drop. So this will take the form of either chisels or sextants, and in my experience, you can drop a stack of these. So you can drop 3, like 2, or most likely you're going to drop 1, which happens quite a lot. Again, a 10%-ish chance for that to happen. The next one here is a little bit interesting. It just says increased chance per awakening level for Conquerors of the Atlas to drop additional rewards. So my interpretation of this is actually the following. So we ran a lot of Conquerors between me and my friends. We've done a lot of these things now, and we've killed a lot of them. And what we noticed is we were only getting awakening gems, which are the new like support gem pluses, as of like level 7-ish and 8-ish. So I would say that this is probably directly tied with your chance to drop either awakened gems and the new exalted orbs off of the conquerors. So definitely a very interesting one there. If you want to be farming those, it might be a good idea to really crank up that awakening level and get a higher chance at those exalted orbs and the other thing, I forgot what it's called. So yeah, we got the 40% chance here, increased chance for influence items as well here by the Conquerors of the Atlas. So that's going to drop you more bases of the Conquerors. So you're going to get more like amulets and stuff like that, which can be worth quite a bit, but people don't seem to have really figured out how to use these bases yet. A lot of them still remain worthless. That may just because you want a really desirable base, but we haven't really seen them come into play too much yet, and we haven't really seen the real potential of combining influence types yet either, which it is pretty still early days, so we will see how that goes. So with all that said, what are we looking at here? Is it worth it to go for those 32 watchstones? And what are we expecting in terms of the rewards? So as someone who's run quite a lot of Awakening level 8 here, I can tell you that it is absolutely 100% without a doubt worth getting all of it if you can. Now there is a small caveat to this. To have the maximum Awakening level, you have to have a fully socketed Atlas, which is definitely a massive downside if you want to run one map specifically. But if you're trying to farm Conquerors, this is probably still the most optimal route due to the fact that you have to run a variety of maps anyway. But if you're just speed farming low tiers, or you want to speed farm a specific area, you may need to forego this kind of like Awakener bonus, but it is going to be quite a big decision because the payoff for this is completely insane. Guardian maps like 70C, additional map drops are going to help you sustain and increase the chance that you can get the maps that you actually want to run. All these kinds of things are great, and it feels really great to have them at your disposal. So do you want to take a hit to your sustain and your currency income to potentially run the layout that you want? Is that going to be worth it? It might be indeed. It's just going to depend. Generally, I would say if you're not pursuing the Awakener bonus, you're most likely not going to be doing Conquerors. So it's probably two playstyles here. You're going to either have a full Awakener bonus and you're going to be doing the Conquerors and Sirius and stuff like that, or you're going to be power farming one map and completely ignoring the Conquerors and giving up that Awakener bonus. So that's all I have on the Awakener bonus here. Of course, I will throw in a quick one here. I did re-roll, and that does relate to this video. I was noticing that my character without a headhunter and any sort of inspired learnings was struggling at Awakener level 8 with the Conquerors and the map bosses, so I decided to go for a more DPS focused build, and I went with a clear speed zombies build, which is working out quite well for me, and I will potentially do a guide on that if you guys are interested, because it is quite a lot of fun to play. But yeah, definitely consider if your build can take it before you crank that Awakener bonus up. But don't worry, you can just remove a few stones to let it back down again. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and enjoying the new patch. We'll have plenty more content coming pretty regularly as well now that we're in the end stages of the league kind of start area. So with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.